Hello everyone and welcome to episode 9 of the MyMuddlings podcast. My name is Julianne and I am your host, and I'd like to welcome new and returning visitors to my podcast. Today is the 10th of October, of course it is, because it's my birthday. How could I forget the day? Yes, so I've got a fairly busy day today. It is now about midday and I've done my workout and I've done some checking in with people on Ravelry, and there's an order that I needed to process. So I've had a few things this morning and I thought I'd better get onto recording so I can edit this to have it up tonight. So here I am. Just a couple of little announcements at the beginning that I thought I would get out of the way. The first one is that I have a discount code for my Etsy store, which is mymuddlings.etsy.com, and I have hand-dyed yarn, hand-dyed fibre, hand-sewn project bags over there. And if you use the code birthday2016, you can get 15% off your purchase over there. So please feel free to go and make use of that. I also still have open until the end of the month the 100 YouTube subscriber competition, where you can enter to win a skein of my hand-dyed yarn. Just head over to the Ravelry group, join up over there, and leave me a comment in the thread. And I would like to give a shout out to Shara of the What Shara Made podcast, because I've been meaning to do this. I've been very remiss of doing this. She mentioned me and my yarns on one of her episodes, probably 2 or 3 episodes back now, and I've been meaning to mention and say hello to Shara on my podcast, just to let her know that I did see that. It was very exciting. I waved at the screen when she said hello to me, and she showed off my yarn there and said some very, very lovely things. So I just wanted to say hi to Shara, and go and check out her podcast if you're interested. She's another Australian podcaster. She's located in Victoria, so definitely go and check her out. She makes some great stuff. She's a very quick knitter. I can't believe how quickly she churns out sweaters. It's just beyond me. But yeah, if you're looking for another Australian knitting podcast, definitely check Shara out. And the last thing I think I wanted to mention was just to say hi to Quilter Caroline. That's her username on Ravelry. She's sent me a pattern for my birthday, which was really lovely, and she even picked something that could be that I could use my hand spun for. So that was extremely thoughtful, and thank you very much for that, Caroline. It was such a surprise. It was really lovely to see that. So that, I think, is everything that I needed to get out of the way at the beginning of the podcast. I've got a few things I need to do this afternoon. I'm going out for dinner. I also wanted to get some dyeing done this afternoon because I didn't actually get any done last week. So I'm hoping to have a couple of skeins for the shop update this week. I'm thinking of just doing one brand new colourway that I'm going to call my Birthday 2016 colourway. So I don't know if I'm going to give it another name, but it'll be just probably, this will be the only time I dye it. Maybe I'll keep dyeing it, I don't know. But I do have something in my head and I'd like to have a crack at that this afternoon. So I will get on to the knitting to begin with. And I have one finished item, and it was actually something I actually got this done really quickly. It was something that I mentioned last week about wanting to knit something from my Three Waters Farm Targi, and it was the colourway the long view, and this was just a 2-ply yarn that I hand spun. I don't actually know how I prepared the fibre because I didn't actually make any notes. I don't think. I would have to go back and check my Ravelry page. But it bloomed a lot. It puffed up a lot, and I actually got 383 yards of a worsted weight, which is I was quite surprised because I was spinning it fairly thin, but it really did puff up when I soaked it. So I will hold this up, and this is the Quaker yarn stretcher, which is what I mentioned last week. So there we go. It's very, very, very long, as you can see. I've still got my ends sticking out. I haven't trimmed them quite yet. But this just turned out so beautifully, the way that the colours migrate across. And they've got this really great, it's like they've sort of, what do you call it? They're kind of heathered in together so that there is striping, but it's very blended. It's blended striping. So I got an extremely large shawl, or I guess it's a scarf, out of that 383 yards, and obviously it's all my colours. It's my purple and my blue and my pinks and a little bit of burgundy in there. So yeah, I used all 383 yards, which is just great because you don't want to have any hand spun being wasted. So yeah, and it was just such a simple pattern. It's just sort of a rib. You can probably just see that, where it's got alternating of stockinette and rib, sort of garter stitch, I suppose. No, it's not garter stitch, it's reverse stockinette. Those thicker lines here are reverse stockinette, and then it's just one single line of purling there. So yes, very, very quick to knit, very satisfying pattern. It blocked out quite a lot bigger than what it looked like because it is knit on a very large gauge. So I used a 6.5mm needle with worsted weight-ish yarn for this one. So it's pretty big. I can well and truly wrap it around, which is kind of the way I like to wear my shawls and scarves and things like that. So yeah, I was really pleased with it. So that's my Quaker yarn stretcher, and I've obviously found the skein of yarn that I said that I'd lost. So this is the long view, and it's gorgeous. So it's a pity that it's warming up here now in Adelaide, and I won't be able to wear this very much, but that's okay. I've got it for next winter. Now, as for what's on the needles, I do have something on the needles, but it's something I mentioned that I'd probably pull out a whip, and this is what I've done. So this, see if I can get it out without destroying it and losing half of the stitches. This is something that I started quite a while ago. I think I started this for the Downseller Studio pigskin party last year, end of last year, so it's probably nearly a year old. And this is the Astonish top, and as usual I didn't get the designer's name, but I'll put it in the down bar as usual. And this is a Knit Picks pattern from their Golden Morning. I actually have the book here in front of me. It's their Golden Morning Spring 2015 collection, so there's a lot of lightweight knits in there, using linen and things like that. So that was the book that I'm using, and I could probably look up the designer, but I won't bother flipping through the book because that'd be pretty boring. So this is the Astonish top, and this is knit out of Lindy Chain, which is a 70% linen, 30% cotton blend, and I'm using the colourways Ash and Urchin. A lot of the projects that you will see of this have quite a bit of contrast, so they'll have like I think it's called Linen as the colourway, but it's a very sort of, not even beige, it's not white, it's sort of a creamy colour with a really bright contrast stripe, but I'm not really huge on contrast like that, so I've gone for something that's fairly blended. So it's just that stripe of purple. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this. It took me a while to get back into it, obviously. But yeah, the linen isn't hard to knit with. It's a very nice yarn. It's yeah, it's a fingering weight. It's just the label there. And I think I'm on to my third ball of the Ash colourway, and I'm still on my first ball of the Urchin, and I can't actually find the ball of Urchin. Where did that end up? Because it comes in these little donut shapes, which aren't really great for, they're a little bit, what do you call it? They collapse. So, see, that one's a bit mangled, and that's a newer one that I've just joined. And I'm keeping this actually in one of my own bags. So this is MyMuddlings tote bag, and I've just been keeping my project in there. I put a pocket in them, my little label. So yeah, I'm really happy to have this back out again, and I'm sort of burning through it. I'm on, it's knit on the bias, as you could probably tell, and I'm now at the point where I'm decreasing, I think it's that way around. Yes, I'm decreasing both sides to then close up the rectangle, and then I have to knit a front piece, and that I think is bigger, so that it kind of creates like a, let me find it in the book, I think it's like the first pattern, so it won't be that hard to find. And I can tell you who designed it. It is by Katie Banks. Katie Banks. So that is the Astonished top there. So it's got like a bit of a sort of a cowly front, and then you just pick up armbands and the neck bands. So yeah, that's I'm getting these. I'm hoping that these will be done for summer, because I've kind of decided that I have a bit of a plan where I'm going to knit like a season in advance. So it's spring now, so I'm knitting summer things, and then in summer I'll knit autumn things, and so on and so forth. So hopefully I can get this done. I'm being fairly monogamous. I'm being quite well behaved, apart from casting on my Quaker yarn stretcher. I'm being quite monogamous with my knitting at the moment, so, which is pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with that. You know, you get things done when you actually spend time on them. Who knew? So that's the only thing I've been knitting at the moment. I do need to cast on for my second sock for the Just One More Row 12 in 16 cal. I think October is a whip month, so I have a pair of Bendigo Woolen Mills, what is it called, bamboo, this just straight mercerized bamboo sock yarn. I've knit one sock, so I just have to knit the other, so that will cover me for my whip month, and that will be my sock. So I have to cast that on, hopefully get that finished pretty soon. I'm knitting my Astonished top, and then the only other thing I'm working on currently is the same thing that I showed you last week, and that's my Amma Granny Square top. I haven't quite finished the first side. I'm getting close. I think I need to do, according to my gauge, I need to do approximately 28 rounds in order to get my 22-inch square. So I think I'm at approximately 24 or 25 rounds now. So I'm still enjoying this. I had this out and was working on it last night when we were watching a bit of Star Trek. I've never watched Star Trek before, so Simon's introduced me to Star Trek Next Gen, which is what we're watching. So I was working on this last night. I did have to pull it out because I found, because, you know, obviously a granny square has, you know, your corner piece has the two little, I don't know what they're called, but like bobbles. Yeah, you put your two little squares in that one, and I missed that on one round, so I had to rip probably over a round back to fix that. So I had that all ripped out last night, and I made sure that I picked that up and completed those rounds to chew up all of that extra before I showed you today. So yeah, I'm getting close to finishing my first side, and then my second side, and then I can join it all together, and that should be done hopefully fairly soon. I've been finding that my wrists aren't too bad doing this in the last few days. I have taken to wearing my wrist, I have wrist guards, like I suppose you could call them compression wrist guards, that I've been taking to wearing at night when I'm in bed, so that I don't sleep with my hands all curled up, and I find that keeping them straight, it's actually helping a bit with my crocheting, so hopefully I can do a little bit more. So that's pretty much what I've been working on, apart from I've been going nuts on my spinning for that sweater spin that I started talking about last week, and that was my Ready Spin from Bendigo Woolen Mills Tea Rose colour. I've done another 2 skeins, so these are pretty big. I think one's, what's this one? 306 yards and 155 grams, and then the other one I think has 300 and something. So yeah, I only have, I think, just over 300 grams left out of that kilo to spin, so I've been piling it all up beside me. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I put a post the other day about how I seem to have a purple problem, because everything that I'm working on is virtually purple. My even down to my Notions pouch has got the purple on it, and my higher interchangeables has got purple on it. So, you know, maybe I've got a little bit of a problem. I mean, it's not a terrible problem to have, is it really? And you can see that thing that's just up behind me that looks really ugly that I forgot to put away. That's actually some sewing that I've been doing. I was kind of hoping to have it done before my birthday dinner tonight, but it's too cold to wear it. I'm pretty cold today. It's very windy. It's been raining. We can't seem to escape the bad weather. So I may or may not work on that if I get time after doing some dyeing this afternoon. But yeah, hopefully I'll have a sewing item that will be finished to show you hopefully next week. So I'll tell you all the details about it then. But something I did forget to mention at the beginning is what I am wearing. It's my handmade wardrobe, and it's a little bit small, I have to say. And this was actually a test knit that I did for Shannon Cook, who is Very Shannon. And this was part of her brand new book that's just come out, which is called Within, and it's another compilation book between her and Jane Richmond. And as you would expect, it's absolutely gorgeous. Shannon very kindly gifted me a copy of the ebook of the final pattern book as a thank you for test knitting for her. And this cardigan is named Timber. And it's a very, very lovely cardigan. It's got this awesome collar, however it doesn't really sit up. The recommended yarn for this pattern was Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, which A, is out of my budget, incredibly out of my budget, and B, I think you can only get it from America. I don't know that there's any Australian stockists, so unfortunately I didn't go with that, but she was happy for me to test. And this is just some Bendigo Woolen Mills 10 ply in the blue denim colourway. So this pattern features this really great twisted rib pattern, which goes all the way from the collar down the sleeves. This really large cuff, and it's also, you probably can't see it, but there's two lines. I'll put a picture in. There's two lines of the twisted rib down the back as well, and it's very, very long. It's got pockets just in there, and I've still got my ends sticking out. And it's got a very large rib bottom, so it's nice and long. It comes down to below my bum, and I actually picked a size, I'm not 100% sure on what the ease is supposed to be in this, but I actually picked a size that I had hoped that I would have been by the time I finished, because I've always been chasing the weight loss, that I'd hoped that I would have been by the time I finished knitting this, but unfortunately I'm still bigger than that. So it's probably at 0 ease at the moment, so it's a little bit tricky for me to wear. It's very hard for me to get on my arms, because I probably should have gone up a needle size when I actually knit the arms, because obviously the gauge going back and forth for the cardigan body is going to be different than in the round for the sleeve. So I really probably should have gone up a needle size. Unfortunately I didn't, and I can't really decide whether I want to pull it out and re-knit the sleeves. I figure, seeing I'm currently losing weight, I'm down 4 kilos now, that by next winter I should be able to wear it no problem. So yeah, this is the Timber Cardigan by Shannon Cook, and I definitely recommend that you check out that Within book, because it's gorgeous. It's not really seasonally appropriate for Australia just at the moment, but it's beautiful. There's another sweater in there called, I think, Campside, I think is what it's called, and it's a pattern by Jane Richmond. And I'll pop a photo in so that you can see it. And Rachel of Welford Pearls was actually mentioning on her podcast last week, and she's going to spin the yarn to knit a Campside pullover. And I thought, that is a brilliant idea. Thank you, Rachel. I might steal that. And I actually discovered the other day, I mentioned about the Tea Rose ready spin that I had, and I said that I had another kilo in Oxford Grey, and then I found that I have another kilo in Dove Grey. So somewhere along the line I've got yet another kilo of fibre, so I thought, well, I don't have a project for the Dove Grey, so maybe I can use the suggestions that Rachel speaks about on her podcast to knit, to spin to knit the campsite pullover, because I think it uses a bulky or super bulky yarn, and my spinning is actually quite fine, and I think once you start to spin fine, it's very hard to get those start to spin thicker. So I might let Rachel do it first. And her podcast is incredibly informative about hand spun and spinning and things like that. So maybe I'll let her start spinning first and take some cues from what she has recommended. So yes, that's the Within book, which is by Shannon Cook and Jane Richmond. Definitely check it out. So that's pretty much all I have to talk about today. No shop update, as I said, but I will be doing hopefully some dyeing this afternoon once I've edited this podcast. And definitely stay tuned to my Instagram feed, because I will put photos up there and let you know and show you what I have created. So, and don't forget the discount code for 15% off your purchase, which is birthday 2016. And if you want to enter the subscriber draw, then head over to the Ravelry group. So other than that, I guess I'll sign off and go and enjoy the rest of my birthday. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Happy crafting. Bye bye.